They say love can transcend death, but what happens when love turns to obsession? This is the story of James, a lonely writer, and the ghost who wouldn't let him go. James lived alone in the house he inherited from his aunt. It was a quiet, isolated life, but one filled with longing, until the letters began to arrive.
Dearest James, your soul calls to mine. I have watched you, admired you, and now I can no longer stay silent. Let me love you, if only from the shadows.
Night after night the letters came. Signed only as Eleanor, they spoke of love, devotion, and a connection James had never known. And then, one night, she revealed herself. A pale, ethereal woman in an old-fashioned gown, her voice as soft as the wind.
James, I've waited so long to meet you. Please, don't be afraid.
Eleanor told him she had died in the house decades ago, abandoned by her lover. Her spirit had lingered, searching for someone who could fill the void. James, lonely and desperate for connection, began to fall for her. But fate had other plans. On a rare trip to town, James met Emily, an artist with a warm smile and a kind heart. For the first time in years, James felt hope for a real connection.
You are a writer? That's amazing. Maybe we can inspire each other. I've been looking for someone who understands the creative process. It's so rare to meet someone who shares that passion.
Their bond grew quickly, and for a while James almost forgot about Eleanor. But Eleanor hadn't forgotten him. Eleanor's love turned to jealousy. Her letters became bitter and accusatory. The house itself seemed alive with her anger.
You promised me your heart, James. You cannot betray me if you won't stay with me willingly. I will make sure you never leave, not in this life or the next.
One day, after months of living together, Emily decided to visit the old library in town. She hoped the trip would clear her mind and provide inspiration for her art. But even in the warmth of the library's halls, she felt as if unseen eyes followed her every move. Emily, unaware of Eleanor, began to feel the weight of something dark. Accidents followed her, and her fear grew stronger with each passing day. One evening, she and James sat at the library table discussing the strange happenings in the house. Emily clung to James for comfort, her voice trembling as she shared her unease. She didn't know how to handle the fear that gripped her or the sense that something was always watching.
I don't know what's happening, James, but it's like your house doesn't want me here. I feel like I'm being watched all the time. And then the shadows. I feel like they move when I'm alone. I'm scared. I don't know how to handle this anymore.
Then came the final letter, written in blood. Its crimson words seemed to pulse with a life of their own, as though the very paper carried Eleanor's rage and longing. Desperate to end the haunting, James and Emily scoured old books and records, finally uncovering a ritual said to sever a ghost's connection to the mortal realm. The ritual required a combination of fire, symbols of purity, and invoking the name of the spirit to release its hold. It was dangerous and required both participants to be fully committed, as any hesitation could backfire, strengthening the spirit instead. James and Emily performed the ritual in the heart of the house, candles flickering wildly as the air grew thick with Eleanor's wrath. She had anticipated their every move, weaving her essence deeper into the fabric of the house. Hidden in the walls and shadows, she had strengthened her ties to the mortal realm, drawing power from the fear and turmoil she had caused. As the ritual progressed, Eleanor unleashed her fury, shaking the foundations of the house and extinguishing the protective candles one by one. The air crackled with malevolent energy, and her ghostly form grew more tangible, her voice echoing through the room with a chilling resolve. "You will not take him from me." In a final act of defiance, Eleanor took over Emily's body, binding herself to James in the only way she could. As Emily's body moved, her posture unnaturally stiff and jerky, James's breath caught in his throat. The warmth and familiarity he once saw in her was gone, replaced by an icy detachment. Her eyes glowed faintly, flickering like the dying embers of a fire. a clear sign that Eleanor had fully taken over. Every step she took toward James was slow and deliberate, as though savoring the moment of her triumph. James felt paralyzed, trapped between his growing horror and an inexplicable sense of relief. Eleanor had won, binding herself to him in a way that defied death. Her presence in Emily's form exuded a twisted blend of love and possession, a grotesque union of the living and the dead over time. James found his initial terror giving way to a strange, undeniable affection. Eleanor, through Emily, retained traces of the woman he once cared for, and spoke to him in ways that stirred his long-buried longing for connection. He found himself drawn to her presence, even in its unnatural form. As he looked into Emily's glowing eyes, now filled with Eleanor's essence, he realized that what had begun as an obsession had shifted. It was no longer a battle for survival, but a reluctant surrender to a love that transcended life and death. Though he knew it was wrong, James couldn't deny the comfort he felt in her touch, even as the boundaries of life and spirit blurred irreparably. Bound together in this eerie union, he accepted his fate, convinced that perhaps this was the only love he was ever meant to know. Love can transcend death, but at what cost? For James, the answer was clear: better a haunted love than none at all.